Why are INFJs so intimidating? Most people tend to avoid talking to an INFJ, mainly because they're considered very intimidating. Even their own family and friends feel intimidated by INFJ quite often, and it's very normal because they have such strong personality traits. So, let's find out all the reasons why people think that INFJs are intimidating. But before we start, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Without further ado, let's start. 1. Confusing intentions. People are unable to understand INFJ most of the time, and it's exactly what makes them so intimidating. You can't really tell what they're thinking about, even if you have known them for years. It makes things even more difficult because you can't tell whether their intentions are good or bad either. It's the very reason why people think they are better off without an INFJ in their life. They just don't want to take the risk of being with someone who could be a flight risk. We tend to feel safer when we know what the other person is thinking or what his intentions are, but you can't tell much in the case of INFJs, so people like to maintain their distance once and for all because they are very intimidated. 2. Complex personality. INFJ does not have one personality type one day. You would see them as introverted readers, and the next day they would be social butterflies, so it just depends upon their mood and what they want to be. They can master all kinds of personalities, and their own personality is somehow hidden in this situation. It makes them seem very complex and hard to understand, so people find it easier to stay away from them than understand them. The main problem that INFJs face is when they are in a relationship and their partner finds their behavior intimidating. They could come off as a little too strong sometimes, and other times they could feel very cold and rude. It's going to make people think that INFJs are not really good kinds of people, and it creates a sense of fear in their hearts. But they're just regular people with their heart in the right place. 3. Constant staring. Yes, it might come off as awkward and creepy, but INFJs tend to stare at people constantly. Even if they are in a restaurant or in a bar, they might stare at you without taking a pause. But don't worry, because they're not creepy. INFJs are people who like to observe each and everything about a person. So if they like you, they're going to stare at you, which makes people very intimidated. Most people don't even want to be with them because of this constant staring. Another reason why you might think that an INFJ is staring at you is that they tend to be keen thinkers, and it's highly possible that their eyes are pointed towards you, but they're thinking something entirely different. So there's no point in being intimidated. They also pay a little too much attention than most people pay, which might make you think that they're staring, but they're just trying to listen to you carefully and understand your point. 4. They are lie detectors. Because INFJs are so good at analyzing, they could also be called lie detectors because you can't get away with a lie when dealing with an INFJ. They put their observational abilities to use and immediately figure out that there is something wrong. So, when people can't lie to them on their face, they assume that INFJs are really weird people and they detect lies for some mysterious reason. INFJs consider it their superpower that they figure out the intentions of people in no time. They might not say much, but rest assured, because they would be analyzing your behavioral patterns at all times, and you can't get away with doing them wrong. This superpower is their survival instinct, because INFJs are a little too caring, and they need to filter good people out of the bad ones. However, people often feel violated and intimidated by them when they try to put things into perspective and tell them that they already know their wicked intentions. 5. They see the world differently. INFJs are not very common beings, and their way of seeing this world is very rare. They do not simplify things as we do, and they embrace complex ideas better than anyone else. It's harder for them to see the world like common people do because they're used to that in-depth thinking. But it also makes them stand out among the crowd, and because their way of thinking is not quite like others, people tend to not talk to them or feel intimidated. INFJs do not like small talk either, and they always want to talk about the theories of origin or spiritual and mystical things, which makes the people afraid of talking to them. Not everyone is comfortable with such topics, and most people don't have enough knowledge about these things. So they feel quite intimidated by INFJs and avoid having any sort of conversation with them. 6. They are loners. People tend to be afraid of those who like to be alone, and rightly so, because most wicked people are those who are loners. But that does not mean INFJs are bad people because they have their own reasons for being alone, and those reasons are very relevant. First of all, INFJs like to spend more time with themselves, and they like to think about their day and all the things that they did because it makes them feel very productive and motivated. But people do not see it in the same way. INFJs also don't find people easily with whom they can enjoy a deep conversation, so they prefer talking to themselves and having meaningful thoughts. Their need for finding answers to everything makes them very intimidating to people, and they often avoid talking to them. They just don't want to waste their time on meaningless conversations when they know that they could do a lot more during this time. All these things collectively make them a loner, and people tend to avoid being with them out of fear. So, do you know an INFJ? And are you intimidated by them too? Tell us in the comment section. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, adios from our side.